It's 6 o'clock this evening. Let's call the meeting to order. First order of business is roll call. We'll start to my right.
Mark Schneider, Sherburne County Planning and Zoning.
Mitch Ryan, Sherburne County Planning and Zoning.
Francine Larson, Blue Hill Township.
Terrence Vandereyck, Clear Lake Township.
Steve DeMille's Palmer Township.
Brian Adams, Orac Township.
Butch Hass, Livonia Township.
Kathy Sims, Haven Township.
Gary Gray, Sherburne County Commissioner, District 4.
Lynn Wotashik, Planning and Zoning Office.
Karen Winter, Planning and Zoning.
The meeting tonight is both taped and audio for record-keeping purposes. So when you go up to the podium, I'll ask you to state your name and address and then smile for the camera. With that, the recommendations that we make tonight will be presented to the board, I think, on November 5th. So it'd be your best interest to be at that board meeting.
Mr. Chair, that's changed to November 19th.
Changed to November 9th?
19th,
19th
yes, sir.
at
9 a.m.
9 a.m. in the morning. All right, stand corrected. With that, is there any changes to the minutes of September 19th? Hearing none, is there a
Move to
motion to
approve.
approve? Been
Second.
moved to approve, been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any changes to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. First item tonight is Excel Energy requesting an amendment to the Sherburne County zoning ordinance for solar farm-related business. The amendment, we're looking at, get it right here. Amending sections 5, subpart 2, section 7, subpart 4, section 8, subpart 4, section 16.2, subpart 5. And with that, Mitch, is that you?
Yeah, it'll be all of us, but I'll lead it off. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So Excel Energy has submitted a request for, as you said, an ordinance amendment to 16.2 to add solar farm-related business. So with this request, and Excel is here, they can go into further, it's basically a place to office out of, house equipment. The specific location is in Clear Lake Township that they are targeting. It's going to be surrounded by solar farms. There's not going to be any solar arrays there. It's mainly going to be just, again, operations in and out. We didn't have anything that fit that need. As you can tell, we're getting a lot more solar farms in the western part of the county. We don't have anything like this. We right now don't know where they office out of or do maintenance on vehicles or solar panels. So this is a unique, I don't like to use the word unique, but it's a request that we see the need for. But other than that, we don't have any oppositions to it. And if you want to get more detail, the representative from Excel is in the audience.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Representative here from Excel? Could you come to the podium, please? State your name and address.
Mr. Chair, as I will recuse myself from this because I have a perceived conflict of interest in all of this matter. So I'll remove myself from the dais and reapproach as the public hearing starts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Pete Gitson, Manager of Siting and Land Rights for Excel LNG 414 Nicollet Mall, Minneapolis, Minnesota. So as Mitch had said here, Excel is, in the process of constructing and just about finished with the first phase of solar up there, which we're calling Circle Solar 1, 2, and 3, right? Pretty large solar farms, and we need a place to, house technicians and some of the office staff, as well as the, kind of the equipment, inventory equipment, right, and to store things while we're waiting to recycle, like panels and stuff like this, right? So there's a nice site that, we're looking at in Clear Lake Township. It's zoned ag, right? And as was stated here, we need this amendment in order to be able to, use that existing spot that we think fits well. And, if this all gets approved, we'll be back in here on the next planning commission asking for use of that site. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I'm assuming just a big warehouse essentially with a couple offices in it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there's, this site that we're gonna talk about, and we will show you if we get this approved, right, has basically, the biggest change we'll make is we'll fence it for security, right? Because we're gonna have back, equipment there, right? Solar panels that'll be, in inventory, as well as some backup inverters in case we need to change out one of the inverters to make sure we get, the maximum generation we can from that site and have people there. Pretty small group of staff, right? 10 to 15 people, what we're talking about, right? And those are mostly there, Monday through Friday, regular business hours, pretty minimal traffic, right, in and out of these sites. And it's a great spot, right? It's right next to where we're building the solar facilities, and we appreciate the help with the commission here reviewing this and giving recommendations.
If I can clarify too, this request did come in from Excel, and they only proposed to amend sections 5 definitions to include solar-related farm business, and section 7 in the agricultural district, and then 16.2. So those are the 3 ordinances they proposed to change. As you can see, we did receive comments from some additional townships since we sent out the packet. Big Lake Township was in favor of it. San Diego Town Board would like to conserve agricultural land use for that use only. Then Livonia Town Board, we did receive that. Not in favor of the solar. They did put their moratorium on solar March 25th, 2024. So, Butch, if you do you want to elaborate on the township's concerns or comments on that?
Well, thank you. First of all, the town board didn't receive this information until the last board meeting, and we have not had time as a board to act or discuss this. So that's one issue that we have. And I guess that's the big issue, and because we'd like to discuss it at the board, and I guess I'm not clear why we would allow, basically it's gonna be a commercial building, the way I understand it from this gentleman's deal, in an ag area, where we've been so protective about ag areas in the past and other areas, and now why we're willing to fast track this. I'm representing the board, so other than that, I can't say what the board wishes, but I know the board wants to talk about this and discuss it more before, and so I'm asking that this gets delayed, or at least from now on, for sure, we get information, so we have enough time to have a board meeting before it comes to the planning board, because I can't act right for the township if I don't know exactly which direction that they intend to go.
Correct. And one thing we did do as staff is we went beyond what the applicant was asking for just the agricultural district. We did include general rural. We don't have any solar farms in the general rural district, so we don't see this being put in there. I mean, if it's something that, Livonia or someone in the general rural feels strongly that they don't want it, we can eliminate it from general rural for now and just go with the agricultural district, which the applicant proposed. They do need to demonstrate a need as the applicant that this is for the solar farm. So if somebody came in and it wasn't relating to a solar farm business, then they wouldn't be able to apply for the interim use permit. So,
Thank you.
and with the need out there in the agricultural district, that's where they demonstrated there was a need for it.
And I can't state any more than I have it previously, so.
Okay,
Thank you for that, though.
Yep, thanks.
What happened to sections 8 and then 16.2? We're adopting those tonight, but that isn't something that Excel required, or?
In the application, it was section 5, the definitions, section 7, because the property they have targeted is in the agricultural district, and then 16.2 would actually be where the solar farm related business would be implemented in the interim use permit ordinance.
What about section 8?
Section 8 is general rural. That's what staff was suggesting for the countywide. But if there's opposition in general rural townships, then we can strike that for now. And if there's a need in the future, we can always come back and amend that.
Okay. All right.
We did have a chance to discuss this. The board did, Palmer Township Board, and I guess it was one of those things, it's like it seems to be a progression. I mean, you have to have the support for the solar. It's gonna go where the solar is. It's, for us, it was a no-brainer. I mean, it has to be there. I can't believe that you can, drive trucks around and have everything you need on trucks in order to maintain all of this, all of these fields. So we have no problem with it. I was gonna ask a question, though. You were talking about inventorying additional panels and stuff like that, replacement parts. Is that all gonna be inside storage?
So the panels themselves will be inside. The inverters for a solar farm that's this big are pretty large, right? And to be able to transfer those into the buildings would be tough. But that being said, we are planning to screen the property completely around with a fence, right? So we'd have to provide screening under this ordinance to make sure that that complies, right? So, but and the fencing is also, of course, for security also, right? For Excel, right? You have quite a those inverters are pretty expensive, right? And you don't want to have a security issue out there, so.
Yeah,
so,
I just, I just want to make sure that it doesn't turn into a, scrapyard.
Nope, yep, and again, anything outdoor storage, right, we would make sure we're screening appropriately, and again, the ordinance calls for that.
Okay.
A technical question I have on your inverters.
Yeah.
Suppose there's a grid-wide outage. Do the inverters, they need power to operate?
To be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm the land rights guy, unfortunately.
All right, you're not the
on
technical guy. All right.
Inverters, yep, so I'd have to, I could get you the answer, but I don't have it right now, so,
All right.
yeah.
Well, when you come back for the building, bring that one with you, would you please?
I will do, yeah, will do.
Any other questions of the applicant? Hearing none, let's open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this issue? If there is, go to the podium with your name and address, please.
Kevin Hiller, 10785, 261st Avenue, Zimmerman. My comment and I'm on the town board, but I'm here speaking just as a resident, as a business owner. I have an interim use permit for my property. I've actually, I think, not mistaken, one of the first ones that were ever issued in the county. The county at that point was going away from conditional use because they wanted sunset when it came to interim use permits, so that they were given to the landowner and they were non-transferable. So using myself as an example, and I'm sure there's plenty of other businesses, home-based businesses that have that. I've invested in a building. I've invested in water and septic. I've invested in tar and improvements and everything. I have no guarantee that when I sell a property, that the new owner is going to be able to acquire an interim use permit. So that could greatly affect what I could sell my property for someday. Reading this, for why I don't know, the interim use on this particular is transferable. So if it's transferable to Excel, why shouldn't it be transferable for me?
Lynn, would you want to address that?
Well, I know with solar farms, we have a clause that changes the transferability of it. On this, and looking at it, it looks like it has the same clause. And so he is right, just like a solar farm, what they're proposing is that a solar-related business, it appears, would have that same clause for transferability.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on that issue? All right. Any,
I mean, like I said, I think you know where I stand.
thank you for your comments. Anyone else here talk about the issue? Anyone else here talk about the issue? Hearing none, is there a motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close.
Motion closed, or a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. With that, what's the desire of the board?
Mr. Chair, I choose to, well, move to approve the amendment.
Amendment? All right. Been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other comments? Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Can you be back with your building proposal down the road?
Yep, thank you, Chair.
All right, and don't forget the county meeting coming up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Second item tonight is the amendment to the Sherburne County zoning ordinance for cannabis-related businesses.
Yes,
Bet you Mark's handling that one.
we all will on this one, but,
They're all on that one, all right?
so this one is the day we've been waiting for. We have finally gotten to a place where we have a draft ordinance for for cannabis. So, as you've all seen, we've been out to all the townships presenting on it. We have done a lot of workshops with the offices and county attorney's office, also with the commissioners. We have, Mark presented at the Sherburne County Association of Township meeting last night. So we are finally here. As you can see, this ordinance is impacting a lot of ordinances. 16.8 would be a new ordinance, but with that is a domino effect of many ordinance amendments. Specifically, section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the districts that it's going to be interim uses in, and 16.2, which will relate to a land matrix that is in 16.8. So, with that, Mark, do you have any additional comments on that? We've all seen this quite a bit. We did
Has this
expand,
changed from the last month you presented it to us?
we have expanded the matrix in 16.8 quite
Okay.
a bit for some endorsements based off the last workshop meeting we had.
So this is the most recent document that was sent out to the townships. There hasn't been any changes since it was last sent out to the townships, but it has changed multiple times from our public hearing, our previous meetings with the Planning Advisory Commission. And really kind of comes down to getting guidance from the county board on the where they're looking at these different uses, the different endorsements that are associated with them. So consumption and retail, we tried to break that down because micro businesses are going to be probably the most common, but you can get a retail endorsement for a micro cannabis business. And it was the guidance of the county board that they didn't necessarily want to see retail and consumption in our general rural and agricultural areas or housing areas. So we've made those as not permitted in those districts. So that's why you'll see different cannabis licenses now broken up into multiple categories. So, meso and micro now have cultivation, retail, and manufacturing kind of broken out in different conditional or interim or permitted or not permitted uses. So it has expanded a fair amount.
Okay.
We did receive a couple comments from the townships too, so that is something that we handed out. We didn't have all the township comments in advance of sending out our packets, so we did get additional comments from which townships, Mitch?
We got Blue Hill, Livonia, and Orrock. Consensus was, for most of them, they wanted the county to administer the ordinance. Most of the townships wanted to stay at the minimum required of 9. And then most of them agreed with that matrix that was sent out. This is kind of more in line with that matrix, just expanded more for the endorsements. For the medical, meso, and micro business.
What do you mean by the endorsements?
So when you get a license from the state for like a micro business, you can do manufacturing or cultivation, manufacturing, retail, and on-site consumption. So we wanted to break those down because there's certain things we would allow in a general rural district that we wouldn't, like the cultivation or manufacturing, but we don't want retail or on-site. So we had to break those down in categories.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
My comment is that it's here. This is it. Try to minimize it. You can't shut it down. You try to minimize it, or at least we wanted to minimize it, but we can only go so far.
Yeah, by state statute, we have to enact something. This is,
Yeah, and
we're way premature, but we have to do it by state statute, so,
well, and we have to do it by the end of the year.
and by the end of the year, so.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the county board, I don't think any of us, all 5 members, nobody wanted to do this. We were basically told to build a house with no plan. And, it's here, the genie's out of the bottle. I think, we wrestled this with multiple departments. I think did a yeoman's work in getting this up to this point. I believe that, it's like drinking from a fire hose. But I think in the end, it came down to the fact that, we have to do it, what you just said. There's no way we're gonna get around that. We're just trying to do it the best way we can as the board and the staff. And I think that that's what we're trying to emphasize here is that, it will, the opportunity is there for individuals, to create a business, do something from an economic standpoint. Whether we're gonna reap benefits from that, I don't think this is a moneymaker for the county at all. I think in the long run, this is a huge expense for the county in the long run. Public health to me is a major concern on a personal level. I think this is gonna be there. So, but I think the staff did a great work. To get it to this point, I think it is great. I mean, what they have done.
I agree. I think staff has gone above and beyond to draft this document, so. And with that, is there any, let's open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this issue? Anyone here to speak on this issue? Is there anyone here to speak on this issue? With that,
Close the public hearing.
motion to close public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kelly seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, what's the recommendation of the board?
I do have one question. The thing that kept catching my eye is a cannabis event. And so I tried to look up the Minnesota Rule 9810, and it takes me to all sorts of funny, fishy places. So is there any further description on what an event looks like, besides no more than 4 days?
We have not seen one. We have looked at the rules and the statute. I mean, as you can tell, the renewal fee is one-time deal. It's pretty cheap. I mean, so we're looking at, I don't know the exact amount that the applicant has to pay for a license for the one time.
I mean, is it gonna be Woodstock, or is it gonna be,
I bet you it's gonna be like a
Corn-based.
swap meet for snowmobiles and cars,
that's,
and everybody comes and opens
Well-
up a booth, and
Like Commissioner Gray said, we're building a house without plans here,
Correct.
so we'll find out when.
And one thing I'll emphasize, most of the meetings we've attended, or talked about, the state says this is going to change just about every year because something's going to develop that they didn't expect or unforeseen or what have you. So the events, whatever it might be, this rule and the ordinance could change every year. So we could be back doing this again next year because they're gonna find something that they didn't think of. I mean, but from what we
that's kind of what's been happening with solar farms, and, I mean, we've kind of
evolved.
stepped into that too. I remember, it used to be the Wild West back 10 years ago.
It
Sure,
was.
go ahead.
Yeah.
And
Mr.
the way
Chair?
we're treating events, it's similar to an occasional special event is how we
Okay.
try to frame this. So it'll have to go through an interim use permit. There are performance standards for consumption areas. There are standards for how far that has to be from certain, from schools, from places of worship, from treatment
Playgrounds.
centers, and I think there's one more. So there-
Playground?
Was it?
Playgrounds?
Playgrounds or parks.
Parks.
So there are limitations on it. It'll be treated like any other occasional special event, and it really could hypothetically be a small, or a gathering of sorts where someone has a bright idea to have a cannabis event on their roof.
We are limiting that to a minimum acreage of
6 acres.
6 acres for the events. So somebody doesn't do it on a smaller parcel.
2.5 acre
I'm
lot.
not big enough.
Mr. Chair, I was at the zoning administrators conference this year, and they did say at that, the one item that the county has more control over than they do of anything else on this list is events. And so, you know, the category of events we could control at a higher level or not allow at a higher level, but everything else that's on there, my understanding is, we have to follow the state rules on it.
Okay. Gonna have your hands full. With that, any more discussion? Is there, what is the recommendation of the board? All right,
Chair, I would make a motion to adopt the changes in the ordinance per zoning's recommendations.
been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, these seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
This just looks like a lot of work.
Yeah, and if I could I just want to convey one more message. So there will be a retail ordinance, so there's a separate ordinance that the county attorney's office is preparing. That is the one that's gonna deal with how many registered cannabis retail businesses will be allowed in Sherburne County. That will come along with the joint powers agreement. So there's a zoning ordinance, we regulate the land use. But as far as businesses coming in and being able to do the retail portion, it'll be similar to our liquor licensing or tobacco licensing and enforcement. So that's gonna be a standalone ordinance, which will be discussed, or which will have its public hearing in November 19th at the county board. So I think Bruce said he was gonna be making sure that that got pushed out to all the township clerks. I know there has been communications back and forth between the county attorney's office.
Will that circle around and address low potency?
It sounds like from what Bruce said yesterday, low potency is something we're probably gonna be coming back to next year, you know, after these are adopted, we'll probably jump back into low potency, because that is one that, yeah, is really real unregulated or not regulated well right now.
Mitch, I didn't write fast enough. You said similar to liquor and what?
Tobacco.
Thank you.
Sure. Joint powers agreements, is that between the county and the townships then, or?
Yep, so basically, so it's similar to the liquor licensing, so I think there's some type of, maybe, there should be a joint powers agreement, basically that defers the authority to the county. Or, liquor licensing, it'll be something similar to that, it'll come
I
through
see.
our auditor treasurer's office, I believe, will oversee a lot of that work, but our county attorneys is the one that's drafting the standalone ordinance.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that that distinction was clear for the board.
I believe we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ike seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Wish we had an answer for you, but we don't. I think in my mind, the difference